Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the development of a trainee. And I found this as a very useful tool, especially when it came to refresh training people. It's the 4 stages of development. Whenever somebody is learning something new or is a trainee, they go through these 4 stages. The first of the stages is unconscious incompetence. Now, what does unconscious incompetence mean?
You don't realize yourself.
Go right ahead, Gus.
It means you are bad and aren't bad on purpose. You don't realize you're bad, you just are from inexperience or ignorance. Or...
Good.
Oh! You keep throwing it right into the light and I lose it. Where'd it go?
Can anybody tell me what the symptoms are of unconscious incompetence? Mr. Burke?
When I keep on reaching for the potato without the safety handle in my hand, and I keep on pointing because I know that I'm supposed to cut the potato right here, but I keep on forgetting to grab the safety handle first. I'm unconscious about that it's incompetent.
I'll give you an A for effort, but it's not necessarily a symptom of unconscious incompetence.
When you don't have anybody gathered because you've forgotten that you're supposed to do that.
Unconscious incompetence is not necessarily forgetting. That would be getting into our symptoms
that would be more
of
conscious.
conscious incompetence. Yep.
I have this agent in the market that always feels like, says, Steven, at the end of the show, if I tell him, guys, you need to understand that I'm doing you guys a favor, you know, I always tell him, it's like, you can't really force it on him, but he does. Yeah. You can't really force it on him, but he thinks that that's the right thing to do when it's not.
Exactly. What unconscious incompetence is the period of time when somebody makes excuses for their failures. When they blame the store, when they blame the circumstances. When they don't realize that what we do has a skill set that needs to be trained. When they watch a trainer go do a show and they're like, yeah, I can get this down in a week, easy peasy. Watch me go up there and do this. And then they blank. And then they're like, yeah, I kind of messed that one up because you did something really weird in the overhead announcements there. And they were all in a real weird mood. You know, like when people just reach for all of these excuses beyond their own incompetence as to why they're screwing up or failing. So the next step, after we get somebody to acknowledge that they are incompetent at the job, they become conscious incompetent, or they become consciously incompetent. Consciously incompetent?
That is when they constantly have the moments having to show up, oh, I just forgot to do that. Oh, I just forgot to do that. Oh, I held the thing up. Oh, right. Leo's going to talk to me about that after. And it ends up just being in their head the entire show.
Yes, yes. You acknowledge that you are failing at what you are doing, and you acknowledge that you need help with what you are doing. The easiest mistake for a trainer to make, and one of the biggest mistakes that we constantly make, is assuming that somebody is at the second level when they're still at the first. And people are at the second, and we as trainers are considering them at the second level, so we're trying to get them to the third level. Ain't no damn way they're ever going to make it to this level if we think they're at this level when they're still stuck here, and no way in hell we're ever going to get them to the third level. Conscious competence should be where we are when we're released from training. You pretty much have the job down, but you have to think about it and work on it really hard to be good at it. I would be willing to have somebody watch your show, but I would not trust you to teach them how to do the job.
So during the course of training, we're trying to get them to conscious incompetence.
Yes.
Conscious competence.
Sorry, conscious competence. Sorry, I thought you were wanting some nice on, which would be awesome if you got that. So it's fun level. With great experience comes unconscious incompetence. These are the Peter Rockefeller
Unconscious competence.
unconscious competence.
Don't call me.
Oh my God.
Give me your
These-
chip.
What's that?
The chip that you gave earlier, give it to me. You lost it.
These are the Peter Rockefellers of the world who can do this in their sleep without really having to think about it. And it's just natural for them. It typically happens after somebody has done a job for 10,000 hours. If anybody's ever read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It takes you 10,000 hours of doing something to be able to do it well without thinking about it.
I think I pitched for 10,000 employees.
Yeah, I think you have too.
It's a long.
He wants to cry now.
Good. Adam, would you be willing to tell me about your last refresh training and the process that you went through when I explained these 4 steps to you?
Yes. I was training one of our newest members at this conference, Richard Burke. I was training him in Atlanta, and he was used to a certain system. He was definitely used to things from another company, and admittedly, it was difficult to help him understand the benefits of switching over to a new system. Because you know what, Richard Burke does a great demo.
Yeah.
He does a great demo.
He was selling relatively well.
He turns a lot of sets. He's a charming guy. I liked him as soon as I met him. He's a charming guy. But I knew that what we could teach him with the new system would make his life so much easier and way more productive. But I was getting a little pushback. So what happened? He starts doing a show, and this is like other company, all the way from ticket to like, I got something special for you, so I'm on the phone. As I'm watching, I'm on the phone with Rick. Like, Rick, I don't know what to do with this guy. But, like, not only is he rejecting what I'm trying to teach him, he's going back to other company to show me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I hadn't put up a picture. So Rick says to me, Adam, well, he doesn't want to accept the fact that he's responsible for his lack of turns. At this point, he'd been doing like he did a 4-piece turn and a 3-piece turn. He's like, he's unconsciously incompetent at the moment. You know, he's making excuses. It's a bad store. You can't value people because there's no one here. Okay, and that's what's going on. Adam, you are. You know, and Rick explained to me all these things, and he said, Adam, you're unconsciously competent, you're good at your job, you don't really think about it, it's just natural to you. Admittedly, I'm not nearly as competent as Peter Rockefeller is. In any case, Rick helped me. He's like, well, let him finish his show. As it turned out, that other company pitch produced a blank. And then I put up a show and did a 15-piece turn. And that, showing the training the money from before, what we were talking about, showing them the money, was the tool I needed to help bring my unconscious incompetent refresh trainee very much to consciously competent in a matter of a day. This guy here, whereas maybe some other refresh trainees need a day to get through it, this guy was taking adjustments one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. We worked on one thing, he put it in his next show, worked on the next. And for a while, he was at the definite conscious incompetent phase. He was like, oh man, I forgot to do that in this part. And he would go back in the show. Not only, he would go back in the show and correct it. He would say, I would watch him work. And he would forget something and go right back to it. He'd go right back to it. It was amazing.
Like during the show?
During the show, he wouldn't say I forgot. He wouldn't do that. But he would know that we discussed something prior to his pitch.
Right.
He would make the mistake again, go back and fix it in his show. And that was me getting to watch him absorb everything immediately. So we spent a day with him on the second phase. By the third day, and we only had a 5-day run. That's all we had because there was storms and whatnot. Atlanta shuts down. Apparently, there was an inch of snow. But by the third day, Mr. Burke had taken every single note, and now, after every show, he can tell me what he didn't do. He was consciously competent. He was doing par turns. He had a couple of shows where he did a couple of 10-piece turns in a row. We were having lots of fun, and he went to he took what we learned together. The biggest thing I think for him, he told me, was getting a show up every 45 minutes because he was used to doing one an hour. He went to Alabama for a loop run. I called to follow up, check up on him. Adam, you'll never believe this. I did 74 pieces in the AM. And and he's like, yeah. I want to go to Alabama. And he said to me, Adam, you know what? Like I did do some produce that we didn't do. Like I did some stuff from my original show. But you know what? Because I was able to get a show up every 45 minutes, and because of the stuff we worked on, I was able to get those sets out. And I was like, Damn right. We're gonna get you to Vegas, my friend. And now he's here.
Yep. Yeah, I think that both of them deserve a large round of applause. There are, just because somebody is unconsciously incompetent does not mean that they are bad at the job. Richard Burke was one of the top producers in Atlanta. However, we said, if we want to make him into a trainer, we need to make sure that he's on the right track, 100%, 1,000% by the time that he gets out of training. It takes a very big man to say, you know what, I'm the best in this market, but I still got a whole lot to learn, so please teach me everything that you can.
He's still singing. He's still
And it takes a damn good trainer to say, you know what, you're the best person around here, but I need to make you better. So I think both of these dudes deserve a nice big old 100K check for operating a horseback weekly. So even when you're working with refresh trains, even if they are just okay, you can make them great by getting them from this stage. I'll use my own example of one of the refresh trains I had. He was not doing terrible. He was doing all right with the company. And so he showed up for refresh training, and we got into the store, and I had my booth already set up, and he's looking at the booth, and he's like, what is this? Where's my bowl? I'm like, your bowl? What do you mean your bowl? And he's like, yeah, I need my bowl. I do all my slices into the bowl. I can't do the show without the bowl. like that's how I do this. That's how I make my sales. So no, this is Steve Smith. I have my bowl and I put everything into. I can't do this. And I was like,
How
okay.
he presents the stuff.
He did it.
He sells bowls.
He did.
Oh,
He thought that what he was doing was just fine, and all of his failures were for other reasons. But like the store that he was in, he actually didn't even really think that he needed refresh training. But we said, you need refresh training or you ain't going to be working for us. So I said, okay, you know what? I know you really want this bowl, but can you for me just try a couple shows without the bowl? And of course, he did his first 2 shows, and it was a blank and a 3-piece turn because and these were to like tips of 25 people. It was ridiculous. They were huge tips, and he then said, "It's my bowl. I need my bowl. I need my bowl." I said, "Okay, okay, hold on, 1 second. I'm going to start a show, and I'm going to hand the show over to you." And what I did was I welcomed the tip, and I gathered the tip, I showed them the 3 gifts, and I handed the show over to Steve to do the show without his bowl. And he ended up doing a 13-piece turn.
Wow.
He thought it was impossible to do a 13-piece bowl, show without his bowl. He was unconsciously incompetent. But from the second that I showed him, you don't need a bowl. You don't need all of these little excuses. You don't need to blame the people in the store in order to prove yourselves. He moved into this area of conscious incompetence, and from there I was able to fix every little tiny bit of the show. By the end of the week, he had out more than 200 sets, and he had never done an entire store run of 200 sets. He'd been working for the company for a year and a half. He'd done an entire 4th quarter without putting out 200 sets. And here I was in the, what's that?
Over the whole quarter?
Over his whole year and a half of working for the company, he had never done over 200 sets in a week. And in this little week in July, he put out 200 sets without his bowl.
Is he still here? Is he still with us?
Yes, he is.
Fantastic.
And he's still doing darn fine. He's still doing 200 set stores without his bowl.